Dave, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really excited to be here. I wanted to chase you guys up, and I stalked you, Peter, to get me in here.
Yeah, I know.
I think you tried to hide from me, but it was not going to happen. I want to answer a couple of questions, and I want to share with you as much as I can about my knowledge. I realise where you are, and I'm going to jump in with a couple of things. It's not Peter's fault if you don't get a job,
Yeah,
or
of
the
course.
company, or here.
Yeah.
But the fact is, when you do leave here, you have the whole world to play with, and your entertainment or your artistic or your performing career is in your soul, so you'll always do it if you want to do it, and you just have to pay bills at the same time somehow as you do it. There's a show I've been watching recently called The Hollywood Reporter, I think it is, where they get all these famous actors and sit around a table. Round table, right? So we sit there, and every single one of them went through poverty and didn't think we were going to make it, and have challenges. And the weird bit is, many of them that are really established names still feel the same way, even now that they've got money in the bank and they've got lots of success. They spend a lot of time in between. And it's this fear that you're feeling right now, which is why you embrace it, and you hate it, and you love it, and it means it's so rewarding when you do what you do on stages. Because 99% of people out there who are in your audiences will have a more secure job than you, they'll have guaranteed income coming in the way that you won't, but they would love to be you. And they come along and pay to watch you, because during that short time when you're doing your stuff, they get a chance to live the life that they truly would have wanted through you and through the performance and through the experience of whatever you share with them. So you are an unusual creature, but I've been in Dubai now for about 30 years. And during that entire time, my career is lots of different things, which I'm happy to share with you, but if you Google it, it will come up. In fact, it's an important thing. If you Google me, you'll see who I am, where I am, and what I've done, because part of your job now is to leave an imprint that people can find. Because when they find that imprint of that social stuff and all the things that make you relevant, then they will choose you ahead of everybody. One of the things that came up with the Hollywood round table thing is the amount of people that said now when you go to casting, they want to know how many followers you've got.
Yeah.
Because that means you're going to get more audience come along, more press that comes along to everything. And so that's a huge opportunity. So right now, start building all the assets, all the things that will make you attractive to potential work. And one of the things is about it is, and I don't know if it was you guys, I knew you guys existed anyway because I saw the adverts at the cinema, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And also at Christmas, there's a couple of people from this organisation who were singing at the Kempinski, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were any of you guys there?
No,
No.
it was the spa singers. We have
Okay.
the number with that.
Okay. Well, the guys were there, and they were great, and the kids that were singing were great, and the audience were a typical audience like that. But one of the things that hit me about the guys that were there is they were super enthusiastic, bursting with enthusiasm, but they sat down and behaved all the way through until it was their turn to speak, their turn to sing. And when they got up, they gave a great performance and then sat down again. If you have this running through your system, you have to be able to balance it, switch it on. When you switch it on, you switch it on properly. When you switch it off, and you don't bother your friends, because only you get to feel the buzz. Your friends will get annoyed, they love you and so on, but they don't feel the same way as you, because they don't reach the same highs or the same lows as you. One of the things that hit me about the guys that were at Kempinski is that their job should have been more than that. If you're a professional entertainer, and I want to share with you now something that happened to me years ago. I won't tell the whole story because I know we've got limited time, but the switch for me was when I stopped being a DJ, stopped being an artist, and became an entertainer. Being an entertainer means that you look at the world through a different set of lenses, and you realize that anything that has entertainment in it will make it better for people, and somehow along the way you can get marketing out of it and you can get paid from doing it. Being an artist, as you mentioned earlier, fantastic, love to be an artist, but most artists end up poor and alone in real life, whether you're painting or tortured in your art. If you're an entertainer, you can do art, and you can give some to the audience, and you can keep some back for you, and if you're lucky, you can get the two to work together and do that for a job. Remember, what we have in this country, in fact this region, is one of the few places on the planet where business is emerging, tourism is coming, and they're launching crazy stuff that the world's going, wow, look at Dubai. Who said you have to have a microphone, and who said you have to have a show? You can do lots of other things and still be an entertainer and still get paid right across the board. Now, going back to what I saw about Kempinski, you had an audience that was pretty boring, didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do, and they're also kind of pushing to get the best chairs. What I would have done, if I was an entertainer there, is because the sound was terrible, the teachers were trying to work the sound, and some kids were too loud, it was just not great. You should be all-rounders. You should be able to walk into any venue, whatever's going on, if it's entertainment based, or even if it's just a chat like this in a room like this, and you should be able to see the angles. I don't know if you've ever seen like The Bourne Identity with Jason Bourne. Yeah? Hands up who's seen it, hands up who haven't seen it. I'm sure my age now, but I go, what? Granddad watches stuff like that. But Peter will know it as well. And Peter, I think, will verify me on this. There's a bit when Jason Bourne is talking to, is a spy played by Matt Damon who's lost his memory, so he's like a James Bond, and suddenly he's starting to realise that he's being followed by people, and he's got all these super spy abilities to fight and to work stuff out, and he has no idea where it comes from. And he's chatting in a coffee shop to the girl he's on the run with, and he says, I don't know how I know it, but there's a guy over there who I know can handle himself. There's 3 cars out there that have got their keys left in the ignition if I need it, and I can run in this temperature uphill for about half a mile without stopping. And she's going, I don't know how you know. And he says, I don't know. But if you're an entertainer, and if you immerse yourself in this world, you can walk into any venue, any room, and see the angles of what will happen and what will happen next. And your job is to get it from wherever it is right now to get to the end result that everyone walks out clapping and saying, that was great. They don't have to clap, but you can get something like that. And that means a lot of different things. One of the key things I'll share with you that I would say is your objective throughout your life is to work out the Wi-Fi code of every audience you meet. Every person, every profile, every venue. Your Wi-Fi code is a combination of where you are, who they are, what they want, the ambience, the sound, the lighting, and how you get the result you want. When you connect with them, just like the Wi-Fi code of a hotel or a venue, then it will fluctuate, and your job is to rebalance it. And we've both seen entertainers and venues and events where the entertainer goes on stage, or the artist doesn't connect with the audience ever, and it's just horrible. I'm in the speaking world, and I'm probably in the speaking world because that's, for me, the antidote to the challenge of how do you manage to stay in entertainment in a world, in a country that's predominantly excited by conferences, but is very young in its entertainment world. I mean, it is. I've been here 30 years, and in the time I've worked with lots of big artists. I used to run radio stations as the boss of Channel 4 FM for a number of years, and I used to be like the top DJ for about 10 years on the radio. I was like, everyone, oh, he's the guy. Pre-social media, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because if you are that guy or that girl on social media, it just makes you bigger and easier to find. But it also means you get away with a lot that people didn't know about and never should during the early days of being in Dubai. And so as you find your own way of moving forward and your own particular skill set, be aware that there are transferable skills that work all the time in other stuff as well. You might not have a career in entertainment as such, but your entertainment ability will give you a massive advantage over other people in a normal job if you're there as well. Your ability to speak and communicate, your ability to hold an audience means that you instantly get put in a supervisor manager in any position if you're able to switch it on when you need it and switch it off when you need to as well. Because most people don't have it. Most people aren't natural leaders, but you have the ability to at least mimic what a leader should be like in your skill sets that you learn here. So whether you take a career that you last in here forever, or you take it and jump in part-time, you are learning here about the ability to work people. And as we find more and more artificial intelligence stuff is going to wipe out 20% of jobs will disappear in the next couple of years, guaranteed. And anybody who tries to survive without AI will be beaten by anybody that has AI. But the one sweet spot that won't be beaten is what you are learning here, which is that ability to understand human nature, and that ability to make people laugh, make them cry, to say something so it's effective, and also to read what the consequences are of what you share with people. Most people will never get that, ever. And we wonder why they got the sack. Because I turned up in meetings, I was always telling people, what we should be doing, and somehow they sacked me. Yeah, because you didn't think about what was in it for them. You just told them what you wanted to say. You have those skills already. So, aside from answering questions, I want you to spend the next 40 years thinking not about, where's my stuff coming from, but get a combination of what I have inside me that I want to do, and also what they want to buy, or at least see. Because when you get that balance of the two, people will pay you and you'll be employed forever. But it will change and it will vary, but you can do it. I promise you, because I've done it and I continue to do it. And I did it through the pandemic, and I'm doing even better now. And the pandemic was hard. I hosted Dubai Rugby Sevens for 20 years. Going out with a microphone for 50,000 people. I reinvented myself when I stopped being on the radio as a stage hypnotist. I did a number of tours around the world as a stage hypnotist. And a number of different times I looked at what I was doing, and I looked at where things should be going next, and I reinvented myself to be ready for that when it happened. And there was a gap of nothing happening, because the world had to catch up with what it was I was doing. And that's a hard bit, because how do I get paid when what I'm doing isn't in demand, but I know it will be? So I train people how to become, my big job now is training people how to become industry icons, how to position themselves as the best in their industry. And my wife sent me a clip from Fortune magazine today, not magazine, from the online, and it said the top 10 most sought after skills in the business world. At least 7 of them I teach my industry icon people. And you guys have that ability to come up with creative ideas, to communicate effectively, to brainstorm, to teamwork with other people. All the things that you see as just byproducts, and who's going to pay for that? Right now, everybody will. And you've got a load of people doing boring jobs who are struggling because they've never done it like that. They went to school, they got the degree, they got a job, they got all the enthusiasm beaten out of them by being reviewed every year of you should do more of this and should be more of this. And now AI has just guaranteed a ton of those old jobs won't exist, and the old way of doing stuff is not going to exist either. I mean, for my generation, and I'm a really old person, but when I looked at the work environments, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, who else? Cisco, all these companies were the ones that everyone went, wow, they've got it worked out. They've just sacked tons of people because what they built up isn't the way to move forward anymore. Twitter, all those companies, the way you should be working for those organizations in the past isn't the benchmark anymore. But what it always comes back to is human beings. And you are learning, you're getting a martial art in being an optimized human being. However you use that next is up to you. And you'll cry and you'll be upset and people won't get it, and your partner won't get it, and maybe your kids won't get it, or your friends, but they don't have to. When you look at the big comedians and the big artists, most of them did it on their own, but it doesn't mean that everyone has to be the same as you anyway. My wife I told her how excited I was to come here to meet you guys today. She's like, that's nice. Driving along couldn't care less. But she supports me in the stuff I do, but she doesn't get it. But I don't get what she does either. They don't have to. You just have to be able to do it in your own world and and have connections with friends like this and stay in contact with people. At least they're there to understand where you're coming from. They don't have to do the same as you. They don't have to help you. They just have to be there to support you during the challenging times and just tell you you're doing fine, even when you're not. There you go, that's not 15 minutes gone. Sorry, Peter, does that answer about 10 questions?
I don't know. I'm sure they've got more.
Feel free, I'm here for you.
So you said when anything facing you like the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
how you
create the plan. It's how you plan to get out from this pandemic.
Right.
Or when you face a problem, okay, now I have this problem, I will get broke, I will have no money. For example, us for now, I will just graduate. I'm afraid from this. What will I do next? I know that things will happen, I will find opportunities, but here, like in this situation, what do you do?
Great question. All right. Well, you asked a couple of different things there. Let me take the first one. My signature phrase is jump and grow wings on the way down. I do that in everything. I make calculated risks. I'm not stupid. I don't run into traffic. But if I look at it and I say, you know what, there's a little gap there that I don't know what could happen during that, I will work my way up to that, and I believe my momentum will carry over that particular section. So when the pandemic came along, as I said, I was a top speaker doing huge events, traveling around the world, hosting lots of stuff. And my target market were CEOs and politicians, VIPs, ambassadors who were petrified of public speaking, but needed to learn. So I charged them a lot of money to teach them how to do public speaking. Fantastic. Until there's a pandemic. Who could imagine? And with immediate effect, all my income just disappeared. Now I've got a beautiful daughter and I've got 2 dogs and I had cars to pay off, and living in Dubai is not cheap. And suddenly I had 0 income coming in. And my wife, who's a award-winning wedding photographer, 0 income. Nobody's getting married, nobody's getting together, and you have no idea where it's going next. None. So fight the battles that you know you can win. If everybody is afraid, and again, I don't mean it with disrespect, it'll probably come across as terrible, but in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. You don't have to be the best at what you do. You just have to be better than people who can't do it. So what could I do? Fall back on my transferable skills. I can talk to a camera. I can go live on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I can tell people what's going on from my world. So what I did was I connected with a friend of mine based in Houston, Ernesto Verdugo. We've been friends for like 20 years, and he's in the same kind of business. And we decided to do a show live on Facebook within about 3 days of the pandemic. We just decided, let's just go on live. He had some software he just got for cheap, obviously, and he put it out there. And so I was in Dubai, he was in Houston, and we had to come up with a name for it. We called it the Toilet Paper Diaries. Because everyone was fighting over toilet paper in the early days of the pandemic. Do you remember? So they called it Toilet Paper Diaries, and we just talked rubbish about, not rubbish, it was never rubbish. We just talked about our experiences. You know, we're petrified about this, what's going on, how's your family doing? And we made it personal, but then we started moving into giving a rundown of what was happening in the news, because at the beginning of the pandemic, nobody knew what was going to be, what we were going to catch. It could have been, and there's a tiny bit of me hoping we'd turn into The Walking Dead, because I'd got loads of Maggie noodles waiting for that to happen. But it wasn't too far from the challenges that we all faced at that time. And so we did this show, and we did it every day for an hour. And then when we got to a 50th show, we realized we had 1,500 people watching every night from around the world. And all the big hitters in the speaking world were watching our show and wondering how we did it and following it, because they're looking for clues about how to do it. And so we were talking, we pivoted slightly to say about how to work in the new world as a speaker. We realized that we weren't going to sell anything to speakers, because speakers were sitting at home eating Maggie noodles and wondering how to survive. But then we just started looking at how to teach people how to sell during a pandemic and how to do other things like that. Did I get some work from that? Well, no, I didn't get a huge amount of work, but what it did was make me visible enough that when people needed my skills, they would call me. And so I pivoted my own business from teaching people to speak, and I realized that all that time I've been teaching people to speak and done very well out of it, I was teaching them a little bit how to brand themselves so they get recognized by people. And I realized that, what if I flipped it? What if I taught people how to brand with a little bit of speaking? And so that's how the industry icon came around. So it's not to tell you my business model, it's to tell you that you have enough already. Every single person in this room can earn. Every single person. You have the skills to be able to do it. What you have to do is get over the poor me bit when you say this is terrible, and it can be terrible, and say, right, okay, what do I do next? And you all have abilities and skills. Now the thing is, it might not be a perfect thing. We call it resting in acting. You know, what we're doing during your resting period, I was in McDonald's working there, I was cleaning a school or something like that. But it doesn't have to be your best work ever, because you're going to move on through bigger and better things. So during the pandemic, I had no entertainment for probably about 18 months. Even now the entertainment world isn't back to where it was. I get offers for gigs, everybody wants to pay me zero, and the answer is no to most of it, but for you guys it should be yes. Why? Because you want to build up a portfolio. What you need now is your optics. You need to get as much footage of proof that when somebody hires you, you can do what it says on the tin that you share with them. That's your job. Evidence that you are that good. And I built up plenty. I did 200 live shows during the pandemic across all social media. And I parted ways with Vanessa after a while because I just wanted to see if I could do it on my own, driving my own show live from my office. I changed my office to have a green screen, buying it from Amazon. You know, first it was just a sheet that I put up, a green sheet, and then I did the back of it. As soon as the pandemic happened, I went to Virgin and I bought a couple of cameras and a microphone. I had no idea how to work them. Nothing at all. And I set it up, and sometimes it'd freeze because my Mac wasn't ready to deal with that much stuff and 2 cameras and all the rest of it, but I made it work in the end. And I realized in the end that what I wanted to do was pre-record a show rather than go live, because that way I know from start to finish it was done. And then I just press play and broadcast it and save it like that. So there's lots of ways of getting through it. For the challenge of how do you earn, then there are lots of different clues about how to do it. I mean, one of the things that you have in your world that myself and Peter never had is you have internet and YouTube. How many people want to be YouTubers and TikTokers and all the rest of it? And some are good at it, most of them are terrible at it, but you guys can do it with your eyes shut if you wanted to. And you don't have to be a YouTuber, you just have to be able to show people how to be a YouTuber. And I think we're going to go for a change. I think social media is almost dead. Now this sounds a ridiculous thing to say. I think we can see a massive shift in social media, because the old boys, it's like the Avengers. You know, after Avengers Endgame, we lost all the first wave of them, and we're trying to build it up to be something else, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we're going to see, I think, the demise of Twitter. I think Facebook's on its way out. I think Instagram will stay a bit longer because it's got a different kind of audience, but many people don't trust Facebook for obvious reasons. But then you've got to look at TikTok, which is doing brilliantly, but you will see that America soon, I believe, will block it because it's China government. And so that leaves LinkedIn, which is boring. Which is going to be flooded with all the TikTokers and all the YouTubers and all the everybody. And YouTube is there, but nobody knows how to use it. So where does that leave it? Where do you go? I don't know the simple answer to that. I've got a few ideas, but where it's going next is where you should be thinking about, how do I fill that gap? How do I do something? And it will leave clues all the way along. So you guys should be right now thinking about all the stuff you do here, plus artificial intelligence. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm not you. I don't know. But you should be asking yourself better questions and working out, how can I do that? Because right now in the business world, the people who will be paying you wages to turn up and entertain them and perform and do your art and all the rest of it are worried about how they can keep their jobs in the future. So you just add AI to whatever that is and start moving forward. You mentioned something when I came in earlier. Somebody was saying about the fact that, you know, how do we teach the next generation of kids when we're going to take our jobs? Don't think like that. There's enough for everybody out there. There's 8 billion people. Not everybody's going to fight for the same work. Now, what will happen? Yeah, you'll go to auditions and you'll be seeing people like you and so on. But just change the game. Change your mindset. There's enough. I promise you there's enough for everybody. The scarcity that you feel is because people don't know about enough. And if you can't get enough, then create your own. I was the first stage hypnotist to be resident in this part of the world. And I wanted to become a stage hypnotist because I didn't want to be a DJ anymore. I was a DJ on the radio, I was DJing big nightclubs, and I settled down with my wife, and I didn't want to be there at 3 o'clock playing music to people to get drunk to, when I know that, like, I want to get up, I want a cup of tea, not a beer. Sounds ridiculous to say that to show my age here. So decided that if I was going to change, I wanted to become a cabaret. Now, I'm not talented like you guys. I'm not trained like you guys at all. That's all to me. But what I could do is I could speak very well on a microphone. And if hypnosis was real, I thought, well, why not? Why not be a stage hypnotist? But I wanted to be a cabaret. I wanted to turn up, do an hour, get paid and leave. Not stay there till the end. And I looked at singing, I looked at comedy, looked at all the things, and the only thing I could guarantee was I wasn't good enough at any of them to be able to beat the big boys at it. You know, you get somebody who's in a band who's a great singer with a guitar versus me doing some karaoke on stage. Even if I'm funny, not going to beat them. I'm never going to get to a level that's good. But stage hypnosis, if it was real, then I was happy to learn that. So I went along, and I couldn't learn that in Dubai. But what I could learn was to be a hypnotist, like a therapist. So I went, I'll take it. It's got hypno in it. So I learned to be a hypnotist. I thought, well, people come to my show and they say, can you teach me to stop smoking and lose weight? The answer will be yes. So that's why I learned to do it. And then I saved up my money, and I borrowed money from friends and family, and my wife actually, it wasn't my wife at the time, it was my girlfriend, who was flying for one of the airlines. She lent me some money, and I went to Vegas and trained to be a stage hypnotist. And when I came back to Dubai and I said, right, here I am, stage hypnotist Dubai, are you ready? Everyone went, we don't know what one is, and no, we don't. Thanks. That's true. I had to prove to them what stage hypnotist was, and what should have been a massive career, and I got a very nice career for 10 years out of it at least. This part of the world, people don't like losing face. They don't like to be embarrassed. In the West, Australia, America, UK, people can't get enough of it. It's like karaoke. Do me, make me look stupid, fantastic. But here, it's that world where people think it's black magic, because they don't get it. And if it's black magic, it's the devil that's doing it. And it's just like, no, it's science, anyone can do it. So I had to really go down that route of showing it was science-based. And it didn't take off the way I wanted it to, but I sold out many venues. I lived in the corporate market for a very long time. But the knock-on effect that led me to the career that I'm in now is one organization turned around and said, we love your show, Dave, but you know at the beginning when you get people to get up and get hypnotized? I said, yeah. And he said, you talk to people about how your mind works. Yeah. Well, can you just do that for our company? Well, not the show, just the beginning bit. Yeah. I said, well, will you pay me the same money? Yeah, we will. Oh, I'm in there. And I did. And I went along and I showed them how your mind works and how the mindset comes together, and I gave them diagrams and all the rest of it. And that was my beginning of becoming a motivational speaker. I just did more of them. I just added some extra bits. And before you know it, that's what I was doing for a living. Hypno shows as well, because I love it. It's one of the most exciting types of entertainment you can get. But the majority of it was just evolving from where I was. But it's like, how do you run a marathon? Put one foot in front of the other and repeat. Your career will be that. You put one foot in front of the other and just repeat it. And you might not know where it's going, but you don't have to see the road in front. You just have to see where your foot is going next. And that's it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. So, like sometimes you got unmotivated. Maybe because like failures of auditions, maybe because you're single, or like lots of reasons.
Even when you're married, you can feel single. I just pause that.
So like how you keep you motivate again yourself.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Distract yourself, watch TV for a while, look back at the stuff you've done before, motivate by, I mean, what I would suggest for everybody, throw yourself into personal development. Read books, listen to audios, jump into podcasts, find out how to make yourself motivated, because that's a challenge. How do you stay motivated? Well, simple, become a motivational person. Do whatever it takes. Surround yourself with stuff that makes you more motivated, because you do have dark days, but I don't think, excuse me, when I look at the people who I know, of which some are millionaires, some are billionaires, and most of them are very, well, not most are very successful, some are, some aren't. I would rather be doing what I do now than anybody else. Because if I look at the jobs that I could have had, the best those jobs could have made me is never as happy as the worst that my job makes me right now. And when I say job, I don't really have a job. I'm making it up as I go along. But you end up creating something where people will pay you and you turn up and do it. And for me, that was a job. So right now we've got a change in the world. And it might happen fast, or it might happen slowly. It's already happening now. We're moving to the gigs economy. And I think we're going to go from a jobs economy worldwide to going to become a skills for hire economy. There'll still be jobs. There'll still be people working for organizations. But a lot of people will just become digital nomads or work from home and have transferable skills where they help people to do stuff by sitting on their laptop in a coffee shop or at home. That's perfect for you. Perfect. Because whatever it is you decide to do, and you're wondering, oh, you know, how do I get a job when I'm based in Sharjah? Well, you won't get many jobs based in Sharjah doing what you do, because there's not enough of entertainment going on in Sharjah to be able to pay your bills, from my experience of being here. UAE, possibly, but it will be challenging, but you have the rest of the world to play with from your laptop while you're here. And the rest of the world thinks that Dubai is paved with gold, and everywhere you walk, you're tripping over piles of dollars. So your address here is worth a fortune to you, and your marketing like you would not believe. Tell people, I'm an entertainer based in Dubai who teaches you or shows you how to or can do X, Y, and Z. And if they're not based in Dubai, they'll go, wow. If they're based in Dubai, they'll go, because you can find anything here. But the rest of the world doesn't know that. So I don't know if it answers your question. The way to motivate yourself is just to keep going. You have good days and bad days, and everybody else does. But if you're doing what makes you passionate, there's 3 things you should do. 3 things. And this is for the rest of your life. When you work these out, then only do that forever. Imagine a Venn diagram. It's got 3 circles. One circle goes like that, then there's another one, and in the center is what you want to find. First one is, what are you potentially the best in the world at doing? And you won't know that yet, but you'll know that there's certain things you do very well. So do a list of them and work out what those different things are. Second one is, what are you passionate about? What do you love to do so much that you would do it forever, and it doesn't have to even pay. You do it all day long and you just feel excited by it. And the third thing is, what will people actually pay you for? So what do you do really well? What do you love to do? And what people will pay for? Once you've worked that out, in the center is what you should do for the rest of your life. And sometimes that changes because the times change. But once you've worked out who you are and what you do and what people will pay for, it doesn't change that much. The difference between me teaching people to speak and me teaching people to brand themselves, it's not a lot of difference. Still me, but I had to make a shift. And to people outside, oh my goodness. But I do remember when I left the radio stations. I used to be like, as I mentioned, I used to be, you know Chris Fade?
Yes.
I was Chris Fade 15 years ago. Everywhere I went, I was recognized. Everywhere I went, doors opened, and I never had to buy a drink or anything like that. And I left the industry. And people, I remember one guy who was a regional director for one of the big hotel chains. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm going to become a stage hypnotist. I'm going to go in a different direction. He said, are you stupid? He said, why would you do that? You've got everything you need in your job right now. Why would you change? And he just didn't take me seriously. And that was, for me, even to the second, it's more fool him as a manager or a decision maker who knows people who have no idea. Because it's not always about getting paid. It's not always about audiences. There's a part inside you, and you've got to look after that as well. And you've got to be honest and true to your own soul about where you are. And sometimes you walk away from stuff that everyone else would say, how could you do that? And you have to do it because it becomes empty. When the best job in the world of being on the radio and being invited to everything feels empty when you go in, then you've got to change it. And I found the radio industry wasn't making me happy. I'd been in it for many years. The managers were idiots. I found that the staff were all unhappy. The money wasn't great. The spin-offs now were better because the internet will allow you to do it, but in those days you did gigs and DJing and all the rest of it. I just thought that I'd be better off sitting in a coffee shop chatting to friends than going on the radio and talking to hundreds of people or hundreds of thousands of people. And when it felt like that, it felt empty, I walked. And I never, ever, ever regretted walking. Never, ever. I did miss being invited to stuff because the minute I walked away, I didn't get a single invitation to anything. it was like I was dead because I wasn't any use to anybody. You know, before that, everybody, oh Dave, how are you, mate? We've got to do some stuff. We'll be in touch. After that, zero. Nobody could see the reason why they would want to contact me. And you know what? I love that because you got to see the real truth in people and what they really see you for. And it also is very humbling because you don't believe your own press. I'm as happy. My favorite place on the planet, and this is true, is sitting in my living room with my wife and my daughter and my 2 dogs, eating a takeaway and watching a Disney movie. That is my favorite place on the planet. And if anybody wants to hire my services, the thing that you'll get, I'm sure you get it as well, Peter, is Dave, can I buy you a coffee and pick your brains? No, you'll pay for it. You'll pay for it because I can buy my own coffee, and I've worked really hard to know what I know. And I guarantee that when I sit with you, I'll change your life by sharing the insights I'll give you. But if you want me to give it as a freebie, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather be with my family. You've got to hire me away from my family or away from my choices. And when they realize that, some people will say yes and some people will say no. And that's fine as well. I'm plugging your chance to speak, is that okay?
No, he's fine.
Thank
You
you.
can carry on.
Very kind, thank you.
I've got plenty of time to talk.
Hi Dave, I have 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
The first one is...
I'll charge you for the second.
Okay. The first one is I have an issue, or you can say that I have a weakness point, that I have too many communications, too many nominations, and I know people from all over the field, our field, but sometimes I struggle of how to switch this friendship or how we know each other to work, and how to transfer it from just knowing each other to work. Sometimes they are hiring me for commercial or for whatever they are shooting, but sometimes I need to build a career to like do it in a very, very professional way, and this is actually very important for us right now as a senior students. We are almost graduating. We need to switch very quickly, because when I feel safe in the academy, I'm just focusing on my studying, and whenever they are hiring me and the academy management agree with that, I go. Rather than that, I'm not looking for them. So in next July, I'll be out of the academy and I have to build a career, and I have so many connections. How to switch this?
Do them now. Get in contact with it. Here's the thing, nobody wants to hire an unemployed person.
I mean the way.
So you say again?
The way of, like, we have a very good conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes I'm on the switching this from a friendly chat
Right.
to like
To
a
business.
formal business chat.
Okay.
It's like I'm struggling in this step.
I understand. I'll go back to what I was saying when I was finished off in the direction you were saying. Nobody wants to hire an unemployed person. Why? Because if they're unemployed, therefore, why isn't somebody hiring them? And it's a truth. It sounds terrible, but it's a truth. So what you need to do is create a Trojan horse project that says, I am busy, but I might be able to work with you as well. So pet projects, whatever they are, and everybody in this room can create one, make it something that the people who are going to hire you can see you're already working on something very similar to what they would want. They don't need to know whether you're getting paid or not. So there's evidence that you can do it. So that's what I share, for instance, with my clients that want to change careers. Create something that you can make contact. There's a classic one. So supposing you're working in a bank and you want to shift a career to go to a different bank, or you want to shift a career to work as a financial expert. Why don't you do an interview with all the CEOs of all the banks about the future of banking in the region? Get each of them to answer a question or answer a series of questions, or you get a podcast out of it, or you send them a questionnaire and you create this book, and you bring it out, and you self-publish it, or you pay for it to be done properly, or whatever, because it's a Trojan horse. It's unlikely your own bank will stop you if you interview your own CEO first. And if you put it with if they sponsor it and get it out, then they can go, look at our bragging rights cost us nothing, and one of our employees has done this. But meanwhile, you've made connections with every single CEO who could possibly employ you across the region. 2 of them will turn around and say, so what do you do next after this? And if you stay in your job, and you stay where you are, and you're thinking, right, I'm going to stay here for another year, then you can do the same book, 2024 copy. And just go around and just, you see Trojan horse idea of that every single one of you can build some kind of Trojan horse with your own skills, with who you want to reach, and create that relationship early, because they can smell your desperation when you're there. But if they don't feel that desperation in an early stage because you haven't got it, then there's that kind of balance that's different. One of the things that I would always say, and I say it to my clients, is always look busy. Tell people you're busy, so they value your time, because scarcity sells. If people know that it's going to cost them a fortune to get you because you're so busy, then they want to work with you. If somebody calls you and says, right, I want to talk to you, you say, well, I'm available any day, any time, I've got nothing to do. They're going to go, oh, okay, well, in that case, maybe we'll we'll talk to somebody else. So you have to hit the ground running, even if you feel you're on a hamster wheel going round and there's no actual anything to run on. I would create something that's a dream job or position or something, and knock on doors and talk to people. And this is maybe not so much for you, but it's for everybody else. Imagine you are already working with these people. What would they want from you? What could you offer them? And act as if that's a conversation starter. Maybe tell me you've been working on a script. I don't know what your skills are. Are you all actors?
Yeah.
Yeah, just production.
Production. Okay, so you're production as well?
No, acting.
No.
Acting. Who's production? Only you. And the rest of you are, right. From now on, you're all production as well. So if you're only thinking about acting, think about production too. Because you might not get that acting job initially, and you might not want to do that acting job. But if you can turn up at an event and somebody says, we've got a problem here, can you look after it? And say, yeah, fine. You take over it. You still get paid, and you're still in the room, and you are next in line for if something goes wrong. And you might even find that you love that. You might even find that people hire you all the time for doing that thing, and before you know it, you say, you know what, I actually like production. This is great, because I'm not in a firing line for getting lots of grief from people because it didn't work out really well. I can do other stuff and other skills. Because there's a formula for being paid. Would you like to know what it is? One person, forget it then.
Yeah,
Of course we do.
Of course.
Of course we
Who
do.
wants to know the formula for getting paid? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, do you want to suggest what you think it is first? Why do people pay you what you pay you and pay me, pay Peter,
Because
pay
they need us.
they-
Because I have something they don't have and they need it, and the value of this thing is more than the value of the money I'm taking from them.
To a degree that's true, but some people pay over the odds.
Because I will not give them without paying you.
Because I value what I'm doing.
Because I'm special.
Because the other people need what I have.
Because I'm offering something.
You,
Because I'm also resolving a problem.
that's not bad about the problem. I'll put you out your misery. There's 2 things. And you've all got the first one worked out, not the second one. First one is the effect of the job that you do. So what you do for people, the value that you bring, all the rest of it. The second one is how easily can you be replaced by somebody else? How cheaply can you be replaced by somebody else? So if you can do production and acting and graphics and lighting and sound
And acrobat.
yeah, and backflip, then you walk in being somebody who they can't replace. And that means you've got choices of always being employed by those people because they just can't sack you. But also you've got other options of places to go. So that's why it's important to be able to learn those other skills, because it's not always that somebody will pay you to do what you love. Very rare that's your role. And any actors you watch, even the top level guys, they might make a movie once a year, and they study hard the rest of the time, but they're just waiting for the right scripts to come through. I remember seeing an interview with Christian Bale, and somebody was talking about Leonardo DiCaprio and the fact that you got a role, can't remember what role it was, and they said, do you feel that you're getting Leonardo DiCaprio's scraps? And he said, every single actor gets Leonardo DiCaprio's scraps off the table, because most roles get written for him and offered to him.
Yeah.
He turns them down, and other people step in as a substitute, and that includes Batman. So don't be disheartened and don't think, oh my goodness, everyone else has got it. This is a one-person journey, and you have traveling partners that travel with you for a long time or for a short amount of time, but as one person you've got to be good in your own head to keep it going, and do distractions, do stuff that makes you happy. If you're not working on stage or you're not performing in front of people, then do something else that makes you happy, whether it's painting or music or writing poetry or doing YouTubing or TikToking or so on. There's a whole, when I was getting into the industry, I worked for the BBC for a number of years, and I won a reality TV show and lots of different things like that in the early stages. And there was a feeding frenzy on who was on TV and who was on radio. And it was a casting couch situation in many cases. And also it was the chicken and egg. You can't have a chicken without an egg, which came first. So you can't do TV unless you've done TV, and we won't give you a chance to do TV unless you've done TV. Well, I won a reality TV show, blind date, in front of 20 million people. And I was going, here I am, look, there's your evidence. And everybody I contacted said, yeah, it was great. What else have you done? Well, nothing. That's my proof. Go and get some more proof, and we'll show you. I can't get any more proof because nobody's going to be more proof to give you. That's my audition. Well, there you go. And after 3 months of the show, when everybody saw, 20 million people saw me, it had died down and it was dead, and nobody remembered it. And I realised that living in the north of England and not living in London meant that I'd missed my opportunity, because in those days you had a thing called snail mail and no internet, so you had to send a VHS cassette, which was like a brick made out of plastic, in the post, and wait a month for somebody to maybe send you a letter back saying I got it. So you guys have got you guys, every single person here can get a job by the end of your term. 100% you can get a job. Is it the job you want? Is it in this country? Is it doing exactly what you want? I don't know. Maybe not. But there's no reason why you can't get something up, pay your bills, while you still forge your career ahead. And if you can't find it, it's not Peter's fault, it's not the place's fault, it's your fault. I'm saying that because I want to be as brutally honest. Anything that's in my life that's rubbish and goes terrible, I laugh at it and blame myself. Doesn't mean I beat myself up about it. Life happens, things go wrong. But at the same time, if anyone's going to have to fix it, it's going to be me. So just get used to taking it on the chin and laughing. And some days I just go, mental health day, I'm off. I'm not playing anymore. I've started taking Saturdays off because I had burnout. In fact, I had a thing called burn in, which is really weird. I was on solidly for about 2 years, every day, 16 hours, on the microphone or thinking or connecting or LinkedIning, whatever it was, to see where the business would come from to be able to pay my bills. And I didn't burn out because I never stopped working, but you can have a thing called burn in, which is like when your car is caught in the sand and you're spinning your wheels but nothing's happening and you're unproductive. Mental health is a massive issue for many people, and people don't even know it yet. So you'll have to be able to manage that and just get used to being kind to yourself. Get used to laughing at yourself and with yourself. Never beat yourself up too much, and smile and love the vehicle that you've been given, because all the answers are in you. You already have all the answers. You just got to ask better questions to get it. Did I answer both your questions? I don't know because I just went on a bit.
I just asked one.
Okay.
The second one.
Sorry, I come to you next.
Yeah. The second one is that you mentioned earlier about the social media and how many followers we have to, and actually we are as a trained, well-trained actors in the work, we are suffering to enter our field because some people jumping on it because just followers. If we need to gain our followers, or if we need to work right, and this is our obstacle, and we don't need at the same time to lose the value. Do you have advice for this?
So, if I got the question right, is how do we cope with the challenges of social media when people have more than us pitching for the same work? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Should we participate to this site and transfer to be a follower seekers, or to do something else and to avoid this? And
Right, here's a question for you. What's going to pay into your account, your bank account?
Money,
Right, and where's that going to come from?
work.
That's your question. That's what you've got to work out. I've got on LinkedIn, I've got 63,000 followers. On Instagram, I've got buttons, 2,000 something, and same Facebook, I've got a bit more, on Twitter, a bit more. But many of my clients, one of my dear friends has got 4 million followers on LinkedIn. Many of the people who come to me have got like, I don't know, 700,000 followers on LinkedIn, or one of them's got 400,000. One lady, she's got about the same as me, about 70,000, and she gets 1,000 likes every day and about 500 comments on anything she posts. Blonde, blue eyes, stunning, like a life coach, everything. I will never get that. I look like Morgan Freeman's little brother. I will never get pictures of people saying, wow, he's sexy, ever. And I know that, I'm more than happy with that. Some people will do better on social than you will ever do. And you can emulate it as best as you can, or you can do what I do and say, right, that's vanity metrics. That is, do I look gorgeous today? Do people love me? We could all have massive numbers. You could have fake bots doing it. You'd have all sorts. Mine is very simple. Of the people that respond, how many of them will go and buy my stuff and end up in my bank account? That's all I'm bothered about. If I need to boost it, then I'll boost it. But the numbers don't have to be massive, they just have to be relevant. So I don't get massive interactions on my social, but the people who, because on my social, all I do is talk about what I can offer people, what's in it for them when they connect with me. The only people that pay attention to my stuff are people who are fascinated by it, or people who want to be able to work with me. So for instance, on Friday, I won an award as the best international, best international public speaker and MC in the region. I had a shake, hand over the award. Thank you very much. I was very happy. In fact, it deserves a round of applause from you guys. Give it up, give it up. I just felt like I should ask. But does that mean anything? Well, it's bragging rights. They didn't come over and give you a bag full of cash, but what it does is it means that when somebody wants to work with me for an event, or wants to work with me for teaching them how to speak, or teaching them how to brand, there's your evidence. I know how to do that. And that's my proof. And when I posted it on social the other day, I got a little bit more than I normally get. I certainly didn't go viral with it, but I don't need to go viral with it. Why? Because when I want to talk to somebody about hiring my services, I'll send them that link. They will not ask the question, oh, why aren't you super popular? But just say, what's in it for me? That's good, I'll hire you. So think about your clients and what they want to see from you, because that's more important than your way of looking at the world. Who cares if you're recognized? Because when I did this TV show, this blind date show, I won on Christmas Day, and it was filmed about 6 weeks in advance, so it was all over and stuff by the time, it was a dating show, it was all over and done with by the time that it got aired. And the next day after I'd been on TV, I went shopping with some friends in a place called Newcastle, where now a very good football team, but been bad for a long time. And so I went shopping in one of the big malls, and everywhere I went, people recognized me from a TV, because in those days they only had 4 TV channels. You remember those days? Long before we had Sky and all the rest of it. So we had 4 channels, and everybody was watching those shows. So people recognized me, and were thinking, but you've just gone to Lapland with that girl on a date, how are you here? And what happened was one of the freakiest experiences I've ever had. People don't go up to you when you're famous or recognizable and say, great job. A handful of people do. Most people just stare at you. We do. We just stare at you like that. And then we talk to our friends when you're not looking at them. And it's the creepiest, weirdest thing I've ever experienced. And it's not nice. It's really not nice. And when I look at the big stars, the likes of Someone like Dwayne Johnson, you know, whenever he goes out for a meal, he has to keep stopping for smiles, and he does it. He'll smile and take selfies non-stop. But many of them will turn around and say, can I have my meal, and get upset. Many of them, like Johnny Depp, it was that weird thing with the court case, that Johnny Depp was massively introverted and massively private until his daughter started acting. He would never let anybody take photos of his kids, and he used to punch photographers for doing it. And so that's one of the most recognizable guys on the planet, but you wouldn't know what happened behind closed doors unless your ex-wife takes you to court and tells everybody, because it was so important that he wasn't public. And you may find this for you guys, it's certainly true for me. I'm a massive introvert. Give me a microphone, I'll look after 50,000 people without thinking about it. I'll just go straight to action. But if I'm with a small group of people, I'll be the quiet guy, because I don't want to prove myself. I don't need to prove myself. And you've got to get that right kind of balance in everything you do. And so when it comes to social media, don't think of social media as a real version of who you are. Just think of it as what I want to tell the world I am, and only give them the version of you that is going to work out to be financially better, or so on. Nobody has to know the real you, and nobody actually cares. So you'll only see me talking about, I'll talk about my business and how I can help people. I'll do some little bits about my family with their permission, because they might not like it, so I'll make sure it's stuff that they're happy with, just to prove I'm a human being and not a robot. And that's it. I don't tell my real feelings, don't cry in front of a camera. You know, I've done it once because I had a really bad time. Because I'd lost my dad for COVID. And I was doing regular shows. And I thought, right, I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to tell people. And that was hitting about the same time, kind of time as the George Floyd stuff. So, you know, it really, I woke up to what, and I've not even noticed what being a person of colour was about. I never noticed it because I lived in Dubai, where everyone's mixed and it's just what it is. Until I took a step back and looked at it and went, oh, hold on, we are. So I did a show and I felt it coming and I just did it, and I got a massive response back. But I didn't feel comfortable doing it. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
So I chose to use it and put it out there and not do it since, unless I need to, you know? So I wouldn't worry about your social. You need to have it, or the version that comes next. But one of the things that is really important, and at your stage you don't have to worry about it too much, but certainly for Peter's business and for my business, is if social goes down, which it may well do, and some of them disappear overnight. Twitter's been badly damaged overnight. For Mr. Musk and his amazing knowledge of human beings. But people who were big on Vibe before, it was Vine. Vine was massive before. Yeah. I know there's people who had like 8 million followers, and Vine got bought out and closed down overnight, and they lost everything, and they couldn't rebuild it, and so on. So what you're really after, and this is what Peter and I should be working on, and certainly working on, is getting people's emails and getting them off social. So then you've got a direct line to them for whatever it is that you are sharing with them. It might be a newsletter you create, it could be a relationship that you're sharing insider tips on something, but having access to them directly through email is long term the only way you can guarantee those people will still be connected to you. Right now LinkedIn's making it harder and harder to reach your audience. A post I would put out a couple of years ago, maybe a couple of years ago because of the pandemic, would reach a ton of people. Now it reaches a handful of people. Same post, great quality.
It's too small. It's too big.
It is, but also they're twisting it. When you pay money if you want to reach a big audience. That's what we do.
Zizi, you had a final question.
Yeah. If you as a person know that you have potential, and but you can create or make opportunity with our connection with other with industry. So for me, because I heard that since I was in university, my first university, since I was 18 years old. So always I hear that I know I have potential, and people told me that I have potential, and everyone see that I will be something. I don't know what is it, but I will be something. But every time I drop in the same problem, 18 years, because I'm 36 now. And okay, I'm proud of everything I did in my life, and it's given me experience and given me a lot of things. But till now, I can't find opportunity to tell people, to make people see what I have. And this in Jordan, in this industry, it's not very good. And here in UAE, I think the industry also become more for commercial, and I didn't see like in media and drama and theater, I didn't see something what I want. So I feel just I'm getting old, and I didn't do what I believe or what other people believe in me.
So you're frustrated, and you're wondering when's my break going to come, and how long do I keep going before I give it up and just do something else?
I'm so إيش متفائل.
Optimistic.
Yeah.
Optimistic.
I'm so optimistic person.
Yeah.
And I believe that this day will come, but sometimes I feel when, and everything around me make me just take a slow steps.
Okay, here's a question for you. Sorry to interrupt you, because I know it's very personal to you, and I feel everything you're saying. Everything you're saying. How did I get in this room talking to you guys? How did I get here?
By chasing Peter. Stalking.
By stalking Peter.
Stalking.
I did. I stalked him. And when I didn't get a response, I carried on stalking. Because I was going to be in this room sharing with you my knowledge, because I know that I didn't get anybody sharing it with me. And it's super important that you get the clues and stuff that I'm sharing. In my opinion, it's super important that you get it. If you want it that bad, you will get it. Nobody's going to hand it to you. Nobody's going to do you a favor. On occasion that might happen, but if you want it, you'll make it happen. Age makes no difference. If you look at the people who made it later and big in later life, you know that J.K. Rowling was 31 years old, working as a waitress. As a single parent, she'd written Harry Potter and nobody was interested in it. And she's waiting on tables, living off scraps. Or let's see, Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford was a carpenter. Morgan Freeman. The reason you got to see him in early films, he wasn't in any. You know, I mean, look at Samuel L. Jackson, who was the biggest earner. Well, his movies have been the biggest earning of all movies ever. Not that he earned the money, but he was in the biggest movies of all time. He only made it later on, like he was about 40 years old and so on. Your story is your story. And the great thing about as you get older, you get slightly less hungry for it to happen, and you appreciate more of what life actually is around you at the same time. When you're in a car, whether it's a fast car or it's a slow car, it feels kind of the same when you're inside the car. But don't stop yourself looking out the window and enjoying the scenery as you go. You've had 36 years of playing. I'm 55. And I wake up every morning thinking, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just going to play it by ear. And I get disappointed all the time. People don't get back to me. People do get back to me. I get stuff, I don't get stuff. I pitch for things, and I find that we're giving it to somebody else. There's a billionth of the ability that I've got, but maybe we just decided to give it to them instead, or maybe we did it for free, or maybe, who cares? There's a key to it, and it's about your mindset, about how you deal with this. And you'll find this when you go to auditions, and it's true for if you do sales as well. If I worked, I'll ask you a question. If I've been working on a client and I've worked my hiney off to get them to work with me, I've done all the proposals and had meetings with them, I've overcome all their objections, and they're ready to go with me, and then last minute they turn around and say, Dave, sorry, we decided that we're not going to do it now, or we decided to go with somebody else, or we decided that thanks for that, but we've got another option to go with, and so on.
It usually happens.
Right, what do I say? How do I deal with it?
Try.
See you next time.
No, for me, just move on. Thank you, no worries. Move on.
It's
That's
not
it.
your chance.
I say, okay, next.
Yeah, for me, next.
That's it. Dump it with immediate effect. They will see by the trail of breadcrumbs what they missed out on. Or not. Because you're in a one-person journey. What I would do is I'd be very critical but not brutally horrible to yourself. Be critical about what's working, what's not working, what you want to give up to get there, and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there, and what you need to have around you at the same time. There's no doubt, if I wasn't with my wife and my daughter and my dogs and the car stuff, I would have gone to America, and I would have much more money and much more opportunities and so on. But I still know that the happiness for me is not doing big gigs. I love doing big gigs. It's a part of me that always needs them. But I actually love being with my family as well. And if it means I don't shine as bright to get to the top, or have as much of a wow career, or don't get recognized, all I have to do is get to the finishing line of my life and go, it's all right.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I don't know if in America or UK or out of the Middle East the same, but female here in industry, it's so hard to
It
be
is. It's hard for
female in
everybody.
the industry.
So
And I can't accept easy way, and I think I'm value more than I accept this things to do like يعني it's hard and every time إيش بنسحب يعني
I give up. Give up.
I give up because I'm not this person.
who says you're not that person?
I'm not this person to take easy way to get job. You
All
know,
right.
and female in Middle East, it's so hard for us to find opportunity in industry.
So,
And so what can I do?
you know what this is? You know what this
What
is?
can I do?
Does anybody know what this is? This is the world's smallest violin playing a song for what you're telling me. I'm sorry to be brutal,
No, it's okay.
but some people have got a job doing the stuff that you want to do, reverse engineer how they get it, and you can get it as well. Find out what they did, find out who they talked to, find out what they piled on to give them that. But here's what I would say to you, and I'm sorry to be horrible, I promise you, I feel it, I don't want to be horrible, I really mean to be loving with doing this, but at some stage, you make a calculation of, do I want, if I, like, what would you want to get paid as an actor? What give me a figure of numbers of what you want to get paid.
million.
Trainer.
Break it down to a million.
Jordan.
Synergy.
To do what? A million to do what?
Eh?
A million to do what? Is that a million for the
As an
movie
actress.
or the show? No, that's a generic term. Break it down.
يعني فيلم مسلسل
Who do
movie,
film,
movie.
theatre, a movie.
Yeah,
Right, a million a movie. Okay.
and I think I deserve
Well, who says you deserve it? You're making it up as you go along.
Me.
What? Because you've waited that long? I don't think so. So let me just check this. Okay, no, you don't deserve it yet, but you might do. But here's the thing: if you break it down to $1 million, what for? You do one movie a year.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 million a year. Break that down to 55 weeks. Oh, 12 months, okay. So maybe it's about 100,000, give or take, maybe 85,000 a month coming in from your
Okay.
wages. Could you feasibly get $85,000 in a different job and act on the side?
Yeah, if I was in the maybe social media or something like this, I
Maybe.
think they get a lot.
Right. Do you hear what you just did then?
I think about it, but I'm scared to do it.
Okay, jump and grow wings on the way down. You'll mess it up.
Because I
But
need
you'll
a
learn.
big idea. Some idea can I put it in social media and be this person in social media that people will follow me and listen to me and yeah.
So do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You make a fool of yourself and you do something different next time. You can earn $85,000 a month being a social media YouTuber, and you may or may not choose to do movies as well. But you could make a movie anyway, because financially you'd be able to make your own movies, and also you get recognition. See, I don't know if anyone's noticed it. See the difference in her face now?
No, I
Brighter.
was think about this. Maybe I talk with a lot at Murtaja know about it. Murtaja's production also Sweden. I'm thinking about this social media maybe before 5 years.
So do
I
it.
didn't do the step because I feel I want to do something good. I don't
It's-
want to do
I-
something.
I
Yeah.
think she meant like because now who gain a lots of money on social media,
Mhm.
who give a very silly and naive content,
Mhm.
so that's
Yeah.
why they just attract people to just watch their daily life, their
What
that's
a
a
good
nice
idea.
It's vacuous. It's
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
that?
No,
Shallow,
but this is
shallow.
interesting. People
Yeah,
can say
this
that.
is, yeah, I think about it a lot. What the good idea will make people interesting of what I will show for them.
Now
You
you
stop thinking.
well,
Just do
ask
it.
yourself, ask yourself better questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've already said now, what's this good idea that will make people work with me? You've already said you don't want to do something that's silly and vacuous. So what do you want to do? And who will pay for it? And who'd be interested? And where's your target market? What would people, who would be the people that would be interested in what you have to offer? And if you get the right ones and they will pay enough, you'll either get one person that pays you 85,000 a month, or you get 85 people that pay you 1,000 a month, or you get 85,000 people that pay you $1 a month. But then you'll have your $1 million a year doing what you want to do, and you will love it. You get me? The only person who's stopping you is you, because
Yeah, I
you're
know.
looking at other people and saying, well, can I have what they have? They don't have the same as you. I had a friend at school, and I know we're short of time, so I'll just stop in a second. One last thing. I had a friend at school called Alistair's something, and his was rich. He was rich. He had all the best shoes, clothes. He had a model car that had a battery in it 30 years ago, whatever. That was amazing. But do you know why he had all that stuff? Because his dad worked in Bahrain, and we lived in Scotland at the time, and he never saw his dad. His dad would come back with great gifts and give him all his gifts, but he didn't grow up having a dad. Don't look at what other people have. Look at what you have and what you want, and create something that's you-shaped.
You have us.
And these guys are
provide.
I still haven't reached my potential yet.
you said,
I still haven't reached my potential yet. This is what you asked first off, wasn't it? It's, people have always said I've got potential. Well, so have we all. We all kind of, and I don't think you ever achieve it. You know, what you achieve is what you do.
Yeah.
It's the practical things that you do along the way. And if you'd have said to me, and I'm sure Dave is the same, if you've spoken to my 18-year-old self, or even my 36-year-old self, you know, what will you be doing in 10 years' time? I wouldn't have had any idea.
Yeah.
But I do know how to put one foot in front of the other, just to use Dave's analogy. And that's what you've got to do as well. Got to kind of find that process. Yeah.
That's right.
Good. I'm sorry. We have kind of run out of time because I wanted to give
Yeah.
Dave a quick tour of the academy
Yeah.
beforehand. Then we've got rehearsals. Research, folks. Remember what we said. I hope this has been really useful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We really